Okay, welcome everybody, and the subject is Rosh Hashanah. So, if anybody wants to show themselves, it always helps, but whatever's good for everybody, only if you feel comfortable.
I'm just driving
Okay.
already, but when I get home,
I just like to see some, they're able to, or else it's difficult to speak in the air, but whoever could, I appreciate it. Okay, thank you. Even one, then I now I'm speaking to everybody, but look, I appreciate it. Okay, so the mafteach of the subjects means the table of contents for Rosh Hashanah. So Chazal already arranged for us, and that's Malchuyos, Zichronos, and Shofaros. That's the subjects of Rosh Hashanah, and each one should be explained. Also, tshuva is very related. It's not mamish the subject of Rosh Hashanah, but Yom Kippur it is. It's not only tshuva. Yom Kippur is much more than tshuva because it isn't the same tshuva that you do the whole year. And we're going to see maybe that we'll have a chance next week that some even hold that Yom Kippur is mechaper without tshuva. So even though we hold you have to have tshuva also, but it's not only a day of tshuva. It's a day that Hashem forgives and is a t'nai. We have to do tshuva. But Rosh Hashanah, the essence of Rosh Hashanah is not tshuva, but it's also closely related. So that's our table of contents: Malchus, Zichronos, and Shofaros, and tshuva. So in general, just a general outlook on Rosh Hashanah before we get to these details is the pasuk in Nehemiah, Perek Ches. Over there it talks about that they had a gathering of the Am Yisrael, and over there it says that people, they were reading the Torah and people started crying, and the Levim and Nehemiah over there was in charge, and he said, "V'yam olahem lachu ichlu mashmanu mishasum amtakim v'shulchan manos leinachon lo ki kadosh hayom la'adonenu v'al te'atzevu ki ched v'as Hashem hi mo'oschem." Go and eat fatty foods, good meat, and drink sweet drinks, probably wine. Of course, it doesn't mean other soft drinks. And send portions to those people that didn't prepare. It means they'll also be misameach. The point of shloch manos, it says shulchan manos. There's a point of sending portions to people that don't have, because today is holy to our master, and do not be sad, because the happiness in Hashem is your strength. It means there's a day that was supposed to be chedvas Hashem. It's not a day of sadness. And some people might, if they see that they're sad on Rosh Hashanah, so they have it wrong. The pasuk says, "Al te'atzevu." In the Kadmonim, we do find the issue about those that held to fast on Rosh Hashanah, those that held to cry, and the Gemara says that it's a fair pasuk. It's a pasuk. It's a very big, very tamua. The Gaonim, some of them made it a fast day, and the Gemara says that's against the psukim. That's not the attitude towards Rosh Hashanah. So we do have to find out what it is. It's something that's supposed to be celebration. It doesn't mean that it's a celebration like Pesach Shavuot Sukkot. That's a different flavor, but there is something happy celebrating about Rosh Hashanah, and people have difficulty because their understanding of Rosh Hashanah, there's some seems to be contradicting. How do you make a celebration? As we'll see soon. That's a little hint. And not, yes,
Rabbi, I just want to, Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur can be grouped together in Yom Simcha. I mean, we know Yom Kippur is Yom Simcha.
Yeah, Yom Kippur is Pashut why it's Simcha. Like the Gemara says, Yom Tov Yisrael Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is the day of Mechila. If you look in the Torah, it doesn't talk about Chasima Sadin. That's an extra thing that Chazal tell us that Hashem allows, that the Psak of Rosh Hashanah, there's a extension until Yom Kippur. So the Chasima, the Sofi, the finalization of the Psak that's going to be on Rosh Hashanah is not until Yom Kippur. But in the Torah, it doesn't say that. The Torah just talks about that it's a Yom Mechila. And the Gemara says there's no Simcha bigger than Yom Tov Yisrael Yom Kippurim. Yom Mechila Savonos. The Gemara says Yom Shinit Nevoldu Chashnios, and also Yom Mechila. So Yom Kippur is Pashut that it's a happiness. People do get the wrong attitude. They think that Yom Kippur is much more solemn than Rosh Hashanah. That's not so. Rosh Hashanah is much more. You can call what's the word? Sakana, danger, fearful than Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur does have the aspect that Hashem extended the Psak until Yom Kippur, so then people talk about the Chasima Sadin, but that's not the only issue of Yom Kippur. The main issue of Yom Kippur is Mechila, Yom Mechila. So it's a very big, very happy day.
Thank you.
Just Mamash Agav. This is like a sort of a milk to the B'dicha, not the Mamash a joke, but just to point out that it's not a day that people should be sad on Rosh Hashanah. The Gemara in Beitza talks about that Ravina found Rav Ashi on there was 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, like always, 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, and he was sad, and he asked him, "Why are you sad?" Means he saw him on Rosh Hashanah. He asked him, why are you sad? And he said, because I forgot to put Erev Tavshilin. Means because it was Thursday, Friday, he wasn't going to be able to eat, to prepare a Siddur for Shabbos. So it means when you see somebody in Rosh Hashanah sad, you're supposed to ask him, why are you sad? Maybe the answer is because he doesn't have Erev Tavshilin. But the Etzem Din of Yom Kippur, of Rosh Hashanah, doesn't justify, it seems, that a person should be sad. It's not a sad day. So that's the first pasuk in the Chemir. That's to point out that the Gemara also talks about that Atzvos on Rosh Hashanah, and it was like a question, why is somebody Atzvos? You're not supposed to be a sad on Rosh Hashanah.
Is Rabbi's Doeg worried the same as sad? I mean, if this is the whole next.
I hear you're saying that there's not that over there it does say Al Te'at Seif. Over there the pasuk in the Chemir does talk about that when they saw how bad they were doing, so it did ignite some sadness, and they says Al Te'at Seif. You're right that the issue about being nervous and worried is not mamish atzvos, but it's closely related. So it doesn't. So he says ichlu mashmanim shesumam takim is something to celebrate. That it does say something to celebrate, and if people just think of the Yom Adin that it's a day of trial, everyone's on trial, so it doesn't fit with the celebration too much, and people are have kind of a contradiction. So hope that'll get clarified tonight. There's Gemara in Rosh Hashanah Daf Tezayin over there. It talks about Malchus, Zichronos, and Shofaros, and it says a little bit more than we just. This is where the source is, and not the source, but it says Mipnei Ma Torah. And why did the Torah say that we should say Malchus, Zichronos, and Shofaros, which of course are the 10 psukim of each one of these subjects said in Musaf of Rosh Hashanah. So over there it says Malchus Kadesh Tamlichuni Alechem, Zichronos Kadesh Alu Zichronechem Lefanei Letova, and Bameh B'Shofar. That's the Gemara in Rosh Hashanah Tezayin. Say before me, Malchuyos, in order that you should make me king over you, and Zichronos, in order that your Zichronos should come before me for good, and with what? With shofar. The shofar is a emtzai, is a means to be mala Zichronos latova. We'll get to it later. If it also is going on the Malchuyos, also is the shofar related to the Malchuyos, only to the Zichronos. We'll see as we go along. So that's the subject we have to talk about, Malchuyos, Zichronos, and Shofaros. Besides knowing what each one is individually, we also have to know how they interrelate. It can't be that they're two different subjects that have nothing to do with each other. Obviously, they're all interrelated. Usually what happens is that people have different ideas of what they are. Malchuyos, I'm not sure people understand about Malchuyos. Zichronos, people understand that it's a Yom Adin, which is true, and they take it to mean that it's like everyone's on trial because of what they did. Beit HaMishpat, they're standing trial on everything that they did in the past year, and that's the Zichronos. People take it to mean. And Malchuyos is something about Hashem Melech. That's of course something about that. And what is the connection between the two subjects? Is it a day of celebration? Some people look at it like a day of celebration that Hashem is king, or the coronation. And what does that have to do with the trial? And is it a happy day? Is it a day of, like, how do you juggle these two issues of Malchuyos and Zichronos? So I think that the way I came out, there's a lot of talk about this, maybe Machlokesin, I don't know. But in the yeshiva here also, there was many years that there were different waves. I think that of the Malchuyos and Zichronos, the token of the day, the essence of the day is Zichronos. And Chazal call it that when Chazal in the Tefillah, when they're Magdir, as Yom HaZikaron Hazeh. They don't say Yom HaMelucha Hazeh, Yom HaHaftara. It's not called the day of coronation. It's not called day of kingship. It's called Yom HaZikaron. Also, the Zohar calls it Yom Hadin. So, l'chora, that's the token of the day. And we have to figure out how the Malchuyos relates to Zichronos. But the token of the day is Zichronos. What is Zichronos? So, I think that mashal people use of a Beit Mishpat, and like I saw in some children's books, that it makes everyone's on trial. I don't think it's a good mashal. The Gemara says, Bechel B'Tishrei Rosh Hashanah L'Shanim. That's Rosh Hashanah Daf Ches. And the Gemara says, what does it have? What is it ramifications about that? What is it tashlachot? And the Gemara says Ladin, and it brings a pasuk Merishis Hashana Badach Rishana, and the Gemara dashins Merishis Hashana Nidon Ma Yebusofa. That from the beginning of the year, it's judged what's going to be in the end. That means that the issue of Zichronos L'Chora means not Hagdara, the definition. I'm not saying that we don't take that it's not taken into consideration what happened in the past year. I'm not saying that, but the tochen, the Hagdara, what's happening is what's going to be. Means Zichronos doesn't just mean to remember. People, I think, I'd like to find more support, but I think that Zichronos does not just mean a day to remember. Lahavdil, when you have, they made in Israel, they made Yom HaZikaron to remember the veterans, so people who died in the war. So they call it Yom HaZikaron, which means a day to remember. I don't think that the Yom HaZikaron of Rosh Hashanah is not that. It's not just a day of remembering in a way of remembering the past, which how it would be understood that Hashem brings up all the records, and that's what the day of Zichronos is. Sefer HaZichronos, like Achashverosh, Lahavdil, he brought a Sefer HaZichronos that he wanted to hear the past history, and people understand that the Sefer HaZichronos is to remember what had happened in the past year, and everything's judged. So I don't think that that's the Hagdara. I think the Hagdara is more what is going to be. The issue is going to be, Zikaron is another word that you find also not just for remembering, but also to reckon, to decide, to paskin, like for some examples, Zachrenu l'chaim. It doesn't mean something about remembering the past. Zachrenu b'zikaron tov l'panecha. What does that mean? Like whatever is past is past. Does it mean only to remember the good things? Is that the point? To remember us only the good that we did? Doesn't sound like that. It's talking about that Hashem should paskin upon us. Hashem should be gozer on us. And lazkiram l'chaim v'lamaves. It doesn't have to do with remembering the past. So I think that the word zikaron, zecher, I don't think that it only means remembering, and that would make that the essence of Rosh Hashanah is going to be to remember the past. I don't think that that's the Hagdara. The Hagdara is that Hashem goes there. Hashem is decreeing on what's going to be. That's also called to be zocher. Like the same word we use to be poked. Hashem pakad esarah, and many times you see the word poked is used like Yalev Yavo, Sichronenu, Fiktonenu, Zichron Avosenu, for what? Lefleita, Letov, Lechein, Lechesed, Leracham, Lechaim, Leshalom. So all those things that Hashem is being Zocher us Lefleita, Zocher us Letova, Zocher us Lechein, Zocher us Lechesed. It doesn't seem to be referring to the past. It's more referring to how Hashem is decreeing upon us. That's called that Hashem is Zocher us, how Hashem is reckoning us, the decreeing. And that comes out, that means to say that Hashem is decreeing on the coming year. And even though Hashem could have decreed on what's going to be for the next 6,000 years from the beginning of creation, but Hashem doesn't do it that way. He does every year, he's koveya what's going to be the agenda. I guess that'll be the word. What's going to be the agenda for the coming year? Of course, one of the factors is taken into account is going to be what was in the past year. But and of course that's something to think about and to fix up with tshuva. But that's not the subject. The subject is not that's like you have a beit mishpat. There's a courthouse and everyone's on trial because what you did, everything is bringing up. That's not the point. The point is more of what is going to be. The issue is what's going to be. Of course, when a house and a courthouse, when someone's on trial also, if he did this in the past, so then there's going to be a gzar din upon him, what's going to be in the future. But here it's the opposite, that the issue is what's going to be, and therefore they bring into the court also into the decision-making of what has been in the past. But it's one factor. Maybe a better mashal than a courthouse when people are on trial would be more like when the government is getting together, when the government's getting together and making an agenda for what's going to be our agenda of governing this country in the coming year during our term, and who's going to be, how much is going to be the taksiv, what's going to be the budget, who's going to be in charge of this, who's going to be in charge of that. Of course, one of the factors that are going to be taken into consideration is how what's been in the past. But the subject is not to paskin on the past; it's more to paskin on the future, and the past is going to be one of the factors that are going to be considered in the decision of what's going to be in the coming year. But I think that's a better mashal. In Eretz Yisrael, the day of election is a lot of tension. There is tension. In America, you don't feel it too much. Maybe now you do already. But here, there's a lot of metah because everybody knows that depending on who's going to get it, that's what's going to be the coming year. So that's the tension that's on Rosh Hashanah. What is going to be the psak for the coming year, the agenda for the coming year, and that's what Zichronos L'chorah is. It has to do with Am Yisrael. It has to do with each yachid. Most of the davening. Okay, we'll get to the davening more, but it doesn't only talk about the yechidim. It talks about very much about tzibur. Ala Medinos Boye Yomer, Bezel Acher, Bezel Arov. A lot of the davening has to do with Am Yisrael against Goyim, as the Midrashim talk about also by Sukkot, they go with the lulav. That's the sign that Am Yisrael won. It's what's going to be the hanhaga of Hashem of Am Yisrael b'yachas to the goyim. So it definitely is a serious day. But the issue is not the courthouse as much as setting up the government, setting up Hashem's government, so to speak. So din means mishpat, it means justice. Justice doesn't mean punishment. It's not a day of punishment, it's a day of judgment. And judgment is not rachamim. You have mishpat, the din, and then you have also rachamim. But Rosh Hashanah is not a day of rachamim, Rosh Hashanah is a day of mishpat. Mishpat means what's deserving. And on Rosh Hashanah, it's an interesting thing that it's not a day of rachamim. There's no room for rachamim. We can't come on a plea of rachamim, and tshuva alone is not the issue of Rosh Hashanah because it's a day of mishpat. And mishpat is a good thing. Just to point out that mishpat is a good thing. If it wouldn't be an issue of mishpat, which means what's deserving, then we wouldn't need the whole world. The whole world is only based that it shouldn't be namad the kisufa. Hashem wants to give all good, but Hashem wants the best good, which means that we should deserve it. So the whole world is based on the whole existence of the whole creation is that there should be mishpat and people should earn their good, which of course means closeness to Hashem. But the mishpat of Hashem is that to give people what they deserve, what is deserving. And judgment that Hashem is going to make, what's going to be in the coming year, is judgment. It's not chesed, it's not rachamim, it's judgment. There are a lot of psukim put the question to point out that Hashem's judgment is a reason to rejoice. And we say a lot of them in the psukim of the Zimra, especially Leil Shabbos by Kabbalah Shabbos, just to point out, Perek Tzad in Hittilim, 96, 97, 98, Tzadi Vav, Tzadi Zayin, Tzadi Ches, just to read a couple of psukim, everybody's familiar with them. Yismuch Hashemayim v'sog el ha'oretz, Yiram hayom u'mulovo, Ya'alo sadai v'chol ha'shebo, Waziranu kolat seyor. The heaven should rejoice, the earth, the sea, the fields, the forests. Why? L'fnei Hashem kiva l'shpot ha'oretz. Shpot hevel b'tzedek v'amim v'emunah, that Hashem is coming to judge. Hashem is coming to judge the land. That's the reason why the whole earth should be rejoicing. Another pasuk in Tzadi Zayin, Hashem olach tegel ha'oretz, yismuchu yim rabim, anan ba'arefel svivav, tzedek b'shpot mechon kisah. Shama v'tismachtzim, v'tegel b'noi sidol man mishpatech Hashem, because the tzedek mishpat mechon kisah, Hashem's throne is righteousness and judgment, and that's the reason why everybody is rejoicing. The yismuchu yim rabim, the oretz yim rabim, and then Zion, b'nos Yehuda, that Hashem is making mishpat. Also in Tzadi Ches, Haviyol Hashem kol ha'aretz, Piskul, Raninu, Zameir, Zamol Hashem Bechina, etc. B'chatzos kol shofar vil l'fnei melech Hashem. Again, Yeram hayom u'mulo, Tevel v'yosh v'yeva, Naharos yimcha v'chof, Yachad ha'miranein, everything's rejoicing. Why? L'fnei Hashem kiva v'shpot ha'aretz, Yishpot hevel b'tzedek, Am v'b'mei shamrim. Just to point out, all the psukim talk about mishpat of Hashem as something to rejoice about.
So what's the joy of judgment? Judgment.
So judgment is that, like we said, that the whole world is only created for judgment. If it wouldn't be deserving, if it would be that Hashem just gives out chesed chinam, so then it wouldn't be necessary to have the whole world. The whole world should be what's deserving. That's shouldn't be namud kisufa. So judgment be'etzem is a good thing. Of course, we don't want to be the ones that are wiped out or punished. So we'll continue further how Hashem makes that we should be able to be zakai b'mishpat. But mishpat is a good thing. Yeah. And of course, we'll talk about soon about Malchus Hashem, that Hashem, what Hashem's kingship is all about, and He's leading the world to its goodness. So when Hashem is judging in order to get the world to where He wants it to get, so it's a positive issue. It's a very positive issue. It's a reason to rejoice. Just to we'll get to Malchus, and then the two I think will complement each other very much, and it'll be more clarified. Just to point out something that I heard from the Rosh Hashiva that I think is very beautiful, that people think that every tefillah of Rosh Hashanah is only Malchuyos, Meloch al kol ha'olam kula b'chvadecha, and at the end of the bracha, Melech al kol ha'aretz, Mekadesh Yisrael v'yom ha'zikaron, so just talks about Malchuyos. And Musaf, that's only when you have Malchus, Yechonos, and Shofaros. But all of the regular tefillahs of Ma'ariv, Shachris, Mincha, you don't have that. But he pointed out that it's not true, because every tefillah has Ya'alav v'yovo. And we might look at Ya'alav v'yovo as, okay, that's Ya'alav v'yovo. But that's not. Ya'alav v'yovo, Ya'alav v'yovo, v'yirov, etc. Zichronenu, Viktonenu, Zichron Abusenu, Zichron Mashiach, Zichron, everything is about Zichronos. Ya'alav Zichronenu Latova. So every tefillah has both Malchios and Zichronos. It happens to be that in Musaf, Malchios goes first, then Zichronos, and in the regular tefillah of Shachris, Mincha, and Mariv, so it has Zichronos and then Malchios. There's only one Chasima, Melech Makadosh Yisrael, but you don't have a Chasima on the bracha of Zichronos, but there's also Zichronos mentioned over there. He even said a possibility. He thinks it's not no proof, but it seems maybe that this might have been composed especially for Rosh Hashanah. The Yalav Yovo is mamish tailor-made to Rosh Hashanah. It's all about Zichronos. And then it could be that they extended it also to all the other times of the year that also have Zichronos, which it says about Ba'arba Shvakim Olam Nidon, Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, and also Rosh Chodesh. It says also that it's Yom Simchaskem of Moadechem, Uskatem B'Chasosros, V'Nizkatem L'fnei Elokechem. So Rosh Chodesh is also they have Zikaron, like it says in the Gemara Brachos also on Rosh Chodesh. If you got Yal V'Yobo, so there's a bracha and you say that it's a Zikaron, Yom Zikaron. So it could be that the composition of Yal V'Yobo might have been especially made for Rosh Hashanah, but either yes or not, but every tefillah has about Zichronos also. If we go on to Malchios, we'll come back again. I think it's all going to be, everything will fit into each other after we have the whole picture. But so far, Zichronos, I'm suggesting that it means that Hashem is decreeing what's going to be the Anhaga for the coming year. Malchios. So the Gemara says in Rosh Hashanah, Lamed Beis, 32, Daf Aleph, Lamed Beis and Aleph. So how do you know that you say Malchios? It means the pasuk Ani Hashem Elokechem u'b'chodesh Hashvi. Ani Hashem Elokechem u'b'chodesh Hashvi. So in it said Rasha, the pasuk before says Ani Hashem Elokechem, then it says b'chodesh Hashvi. So Ani Hashem Elokechem is Malchios, and that's b'chodesh Hashvi b'echad lachodesh. Another Rasha because it says Vayu lechem l'zikor l'fnei Elokechem Ani Hashem Elokechem. The pasuk where it talks about by Chatzotzros and Parshas Ba'aloscha. So you learn out whenever it says Zichronos, it goes together with Malchios. Zichronos goes together with Malchios. So that seems to be a hint that the Malchios is mitchaber to Zichronos. Means the subject of the day would be Zichronos. Whenever there's Zichronos, there's also Malchios. What does that mean? The point is to say, like the Ramchal says in his Sefer called Mamre Chachma, and over there it talks about Rosh Hashanah. He goes according to the Nusach of davening. So he says, and at Rosh Hashanah Hashem is standing with Bechinas Melech. I'll just read the text. Ulam Rosh Hashanah Odin Baruch Hu Omed B'Kivyachol Bechinas Melech Al Olamo Valkeini Nei Ashor Ruya L'Spal L'Lefanav Shetigol Malchusei L'Gamri B'Olam. On Rosh Hashanah Hashem is standing as a king. How is he standing as a king? Because of Zichronos. Because Hashem is decreeing what's going to be what's the agenda for the coming year. So it's more bolate. It's more standing out that he's the king because he's now decreeing what's going to be in the coming year. So it's an opportune time that we should daven that Hashem's kingship should be mitgaleh, should be completely revealed, and that's what we're davening for, that Hashem's should be completely king. There shouldn't be anything holding back his kingship. There seems to be that there are two issues over here. One is the agenda, and one is the koach, the atzma, the power, the strength of the kingship. The mashal, I would say, would be in an earthly government that you have what the agenda of the government is and how strong the government is. For instance, if you have a government that only has 61 seats, so even if they have a good agenda, but they're schwach, they're pretty weak. If you have a government that has 80 seats, 90 seats, 100 seats, 120 seats, of course, so then that's a strong government. And whatever their agenda is going to be very strong. So it seems the way the Ramchal is saying is that since it's a day of Zichronos, and Hashem is standing as a king, so it's opportune time that we should ask Hashem that his kingship should completely take over. And that's the bracha malochal kol ha'olam kulo b'chodecha v'naseh al kol ha'aretz v'korecha v'vofa badag al kol yoshvei sevei l'tzecha v'yeda kol po v'yeda yovin kol yitzor v'yom kol Hashem neshama b'apo malchuso b'kol mashola. So something about the completion, the by Hashem u'melech kol ha'aretz v'emuhu yeh Hashem echad u'shmo echad, that Hashem's kingship should be complete, and whatever Hashem wants to do, he should be able to do it completely. So what does Malucha mean? Malucha means, what is kingship? Kingship, sometimes we get the wrong idea because we don't have kings or we don't have good kings or leadership. But a king is really the one who's in position to lead the people. And even though sometimes people, one who's not a melech hagun, so then he just takes everything for himself. He's just interested in the covenant and the power that he gets. But that's not a good king. A good king means that his interest is what the people need, and he's in power position. Since people accept him as being the king, he's able to make decisions for the whole Am and to lead them to whatever's good for them. What does Hashem want to lead the world to? What is Hashem's goal in being king? What does he want to lead them to? So if we start back to the Derech Hashem, what's the purpose of creation? Is that Hashem wants to give it dvekus. He wants that the old and the Ram should be davik to Hashem, according to which is the ultimate good. That couldn't be anything better. And the malchus of Hashem is something that we want. I thought myself, and I hear people whenever I say this over, they're always impressed. And I think there's a basic mistake people make that I had made until I heard this from Rabbi Shlomo Zilberman, and it's mamish pushed down the words. And once you hear it, or maybe you heard it last year already when I mentioned it, or people thought of it themselves, but I heard it from Rabbi Shlomo, and it made a very big impression. Whenever I hear Imul Lefani Malchuyos Kadesh Tamlichuni Alechem, I took it just to mean that this is the way to be Mamlech Hashem. Hashem tells you, I'll tell you the way to do it. Why do you want to do it? Because I want you to. I want to be king over you, so to speak, and I want you to do it. How do you do it? How do you make me to be king? By saying these psukim of Malchuyos. Maybe Shofar is also going to be, but that's like a basic mistake in what the Gemara is saying. If you look at the Gemara over there, the whole list of the Gemara is talking about that Hashem is saying, I'm telling you to do these things because there's a result that you want. It starts off over there that Hashem says, I've got the order over there. I said, starts off, I don't remember the order. It's right here. Maybe I'll take it out. This is Rosh Hashanah Tezayin. And it talks about Pesach, Shavuos, and Sukkot, and Rosh Hashanah. It talks about bringing the Omer and bringing Shtei Alechem on Shavuos and bringing Nisuch HaMayim on Sukkot, and then about Malchuyos, Zichronos, and Shofaros. So it says, it's not starts with Pesach. Why did Hashem say to bring the Omer? The answer is in order that you should have bracha in the grain. So bring Omer, that'll cause that you should have bracha in the grain. That means is the good thing that you want. So I'm telling you what to do in order to get the good thing that you want. Also the same thing by because it's Peres Ilan. You want bracha and Peres Ilan. So I'm telling you how to do it. Bring the Shtei Alechem, that's going to cause that you should have good Peres Ilan. Same thing by Nisuch HaMayim. Nisko Lefani Mayim B'chag Kadesh Yisbrochu Lechem Gishmei Shana. You need water, right? So in order you should have bracha in the Gishmei Shana, so do Nisuch HaMayim. Then it goes and say before me in Rosh Hashanah Malchuyos Kadesh Tamlichuni Alechem. So Tamlichuni Alechem, that's the success. It's a given over here. The same way Tvua and Peres Ilan and water, all these are givens that you want them. So Tamlichuni Alechem also is talking to people that understand that Hashem's kingship is the best thing that they could have. And that's what they want. So Hashem says, I'll tell you how to do it. To say the 10 psukim of Malchuyos, that's how you're going to make me to be king. It's like you're putting me in the driver's seat. Who do you want to be in the driver's seat? So it's talking to people that understand that the best haslacha that they could have is that Hashem should be leading them. And Hashem is telling us how to do that. The same thing about Zichronos. In order that your psak should be good, so say the psukim of Zichronos. So I think that it sheds light on the whole issue of the Malchuyos, that is something that we want. We want Hashem to be Manigas. We don't want to be in charge. We'd be in charge. But we want Hashem should lead us because He knows how to lead us. So Malchuyos is a great thing and we want it, and Hashem gave us an opportunity that we should daven for it on Rosh Hashanah. It could be, according to what we were saying, that Mitzad Hashem doesn't say the same Malchuyos so much. It means that it says in the Malchuyos, but it's Drabanan. But the point is that maybe the day is really Zichronos. But as the Ramchal says, that since Hashem is standing in B'chinas Malach, it's an opportune time to daven that Hashem's Malchus should be strong. The real Mitzad Hashem, it's a day that is Koveya the agenda, what's going to be this year. But we want Hashem to have a strong Malchus. So we say that Hashem's kingship, like giving him more mandatim, as they say over here in Israel, that he should have a stronger government. What the agenda is, that's the Onosei of Rosh Hashanah. But we, Mitzidenu, we want Hashem's kingship to be strong, and we say, and that will give Hashem's kingship more strength. Why a person would want Hashem's kingdom? Of course, the bigger a person is, if he loves Hashem so much, like the Hasidus, like it says in Mesilas Yesharim, so he cares about Hashem, he loves Hashem so much, he wants that it should be Kvod Shemaim, Nachas Ruach. That doesn't take away from this. But even a person that's not holding over there, and he wants for his own good, so this is his own good, that Hashem should be king, is his own good. If we take this together with the Mishpat, we say Malchus and Zichronos, so Hashem's Mishpat and Rosh Hashanah is how to judge the world and to paskin and to decree upon it that it should lead the world closer to its tikkun. And we want the tikkun hashalim, it should already come to completion, so we daven that it should be Meloch HaKol Olam Kulo B'chvodecha. But the psak of Rosh Hashanah is that Hashem is judging the world in a way, being kobeya dan haga for the coming year, in order to get it closer to its tachlis. If anybody has any questions until here, or wants to say anything until we go on to shofar still. If anybody wants to say anything so far, if anything needs more explanation or any kashas, feel free. Okay, if that's good. So we continue about shofar. There's one Gemara that says Lama Tokin. Why do we blow? Lama Tokin? Rahman Amar Tiku. Well, what kind of question is that? Why do we blow? Because Hashem said so. So the Gemara says, well, the question we meant to ask is, why do we blow 2 times? Be yeshiva before Musaf and then during Musaf. But some people took this Gemara to mean that you're not supposed to think what shofar is all about, because it says Lama Token. Why do you blow? Because Hashem said so, and you don't need any reasons. So as if to say, don't try to figure out why you blow shofar. Hashem said so, but that's not true, because on the same page the Gemara says, like we just mentioned, Amra Torah. So it says over there, but shofar. There's the Gemara does ask the question, so the point is to say that there's a difference between lama and mipnei amra Torah. Lama means why do we blow? Why do we blow? Why do we do any mitzvah? We do any mitzvah because Hashem said so. That's the reason why we're doing it. But if you want to understand what is the token of the mitzvah, like if you say, why do you put up a makkah? Why do you put up a fence on your roof? Because Hashem said so. That's the real answer. But why did Hashem say so? So you say, because Hashem doesn't want anybody to fall from the roof. So it's not a contradiction to figure out what the reason of shofar is. But when you ask, why are we doing it? Why are we doing it? Because Hashem said so. But why did Hashem say to do it? What is Hashem telling us to do? So that's the question of Mipnei Amra Torah, and that we could ask, and we should ask. We should understand what is the shofar doing. So the Gemara says in many places, the Nusach, that it's Machneses Zichrono Shel Yisrael Leviyin Shebashamayim. That the shofar is what brings the zichronos of before Hashem, the tov, that it causes that Hashem should make a good psak on Am Yisrael. He should consider them in a good way, as we said, like the people Kida, Hashem reckons them in a good way because of the shofar. And the Pashut Pshat Gemara, when it says Bameh Bashofar, like what we said on Rosh Hashanah Tezayin, that it says with what, the Pashut Pshat the Chora would be going on zichronos. Malchuyos is Malchuyos. Zichronos is Ishayalu Zichanechim L'fanei Latova, but Mer B'Shofar is only going on Zichronos. Some of Harshim, some Rishonim do say it's going back on Malchuyos also, and in fact we also blow the shofar during Chazaros Hashatz, during the Shemon Esrei, during the Tefillah, that we do blow by Malchuyos, Zichronos, Shofaros, we blow each time, so it shows that there is a connection between the shofar and Malchuyos, but the Gemara always talks about the kesher between the shofar and the Zichronos, not with the Malchuyos. So I'm just pointing out what I have, and also what I saw from the Ramchal. It talks about the shofar more in relation to the zichronos than to the malchuyos. Even if it's malchuyos, it's also going to be that has something to do with how Hashem is governing, and it makes the governing should be in a good way, which we would call that more the zichronos, not the fact that Hashem is king. It means the marshal people say in the Machzor it says the reasons from a Psadigon, I think, but they're not based on Gemaras. It's more like a Sfara, and since you find that the custom is that people blow trumpets before the king, so maybe that's also a way of the coronating the king by blowing the shofar, the same way they do by a mortal king. But just to point out, the pasuk doesn't say that too much. It says B'chatzotzus v'kol shofar bi l'fnei Melech Hashem, etc., etc. L'fnei Hashem kivol l'shpot haaretz, because Hashem is coming to judge the land. So it talks about the judgment, maybe not the coronation. So I don't know if there is a pshat that the shofar is also a way to be mamlech Hashem. They say that also in the name of the Gemara, Chaim Volozhin. I'm just saying that the Gemara doesn't stress that too much. The Gemara stresses always when it wants to say the strength of what the essence of the shofar. It always says Shemach Neses, Rono Shel Yisrael, Avin Shabbat Shemayim. But I'm not denying that there are those, and there is some Ashmos also that the shofar has something to do with Malchuyos. But what I'm going to explain is more what I see from the Ramchal and the Pashut Pshat, the Gemara. It surely connects it to Zichronos, maybe Malchuyos also. So the way the Ramchal explains. So of course, to know how it does it, what the shofar, why these sounds of Tkiyah Shvarim, and why a ayil, or a kosher animal, what is the shofar exactly? So probably you have to have Kabbalah for that. You have to know what, and any mitzvah, you have to have Kabbalah to understand the essence of how it's doing it. But what it does, the Ramchal does talk about in Derech Hashem, and he says that there's an issue on Rosh Hashanah that we're in trouble, so to speak. Hashem wants to decree upon us good decrees, but it has to be a Yom Mishpat. It can't be a day of Rachamim, because the issue is that there's Mishpat. It has to be Dafka Mishpat, and it says that Hashem allows the Satan, the Makatreg, the prosecutor to come, because it's a day of Mishpat, and there's no room for Rachamim. So that's an issue. It means Hashem wants to help us. And the Gemara says that Hashem gave us the Eitz of Shofar, because even though he loves Mishpat, but he loves his children more. And he gave us the Eitz of Shofar. So the Ramchal gives a mashal to explain how the shofar works. Not how it's able to work, how it's able to be, not the mechanics, but just like the general idea of what the shofar is going to accomplish. He says a mashal, that the mashal is understandable, the nimshal is not so understandable, but the mashal is understandable. It says in the Gemara, if somebody forgoes people that wronged him, he's mochel them, he waves his taina against them. So that's a schus that in Shemayim, in heavenly court, they're going to waive his averis also. And over there, it means that they're waving, they're being mochel him. But that kind of mechila is a deserved mechila. It's not a mechila, it's not a pardoning that is undeserved. He deserves to be pardoned. Why? Because he pardons other people. So not just in that din about whatever it was between him and his friend, he gets a schus. He gets a schus in all the other judgments that are going to be against him, because you see, when he has dealings with other people, he pardons them. So too, when there's a taina against him, he deserves to be pardoned. That's the mashal. You see a case that somebody deserves rachamim. He deserves compassion. Compassion is compassion. Compassion means that it's going to get what he doesn't deserve. But he deserves compassion. I hope I'm explaining it. That the compassion itself is going to be something that's undeserved, not according to what he did. But he deserves to be treated with compassion because he acts with compassion. So that's rachamim bedin. That means that it's deserved rachamim. That's the mashal. That I think is understandable. Everybody agrees to that. So now the nimshal is going to be that shofar is also like that. Hashem made that shofar is a mitzvah, and every mitzvah has a reward, it has like it produces something. Every mitzvah does something. Not a reward that's just going to be slapped onto it, but it has something to do with the essence of the mitzvah. And this, I don't understand. This probably you need Kabbalah. What is the shofar doing? But what's going to happen is that if you do the mitzvah of shofar, the pre of the shofar, the result of the shofar is going to be that rachamim, that Hashem is omed mikisei din tekisei rachamim, because you did this mitzvah. It means that you get deserved rachamim. So you say they can't be rachamim on Rosh Hashanah. Yeah, but this is rachamim bedin. Here he deserves. Why does he deserve it? Because the shofar created that. The shofar did allow, because he deserves now, because he did the mitzvah of shofar, not only because he gets credit because he did a mitzvah, but that's what the shofar produces. And it means like it's a midah connected midah, that he does shofar, so now it's deserved. It's already working within the mechanics of Yom Adin, even though it's din and not rachamim, but he deserves rachamim. I don't understand the nimshal, but I do understand the mashal, and the Ramchal is telling us that is a truism also by shofar. If we don't understand the lumdis, the Kabbalah, how it works, we'd be smarter. But even if we don't, the point is that Hashem gave us an eitzah how we could be zocha even bedin. A very nice point about the shofar is who was supposed to hear the shofar. Means who is the shofar designed for that it should be heard. So we say the bracha l'shmoa kol shofar. That sounds like we're supposed to hear the shofar. But just to point out that it's not, that bracha doesn't say in the Gemara, and it's machlokas rishonim what the bracha is. Rabbeinu Tam holds that the bracha is to blow the shofar, Yom Teruah Yalachem, and of course you have to hear it. But the point is not the hearing as much as the blowing, and who is supposed to hear it. So it's a very fascinating thing that I'm very fascinated by it. That in the bracha that we do have from Chazal means the bracha brichas mitzvah sheshek l'shonu b'mitzvos of l'shmoa kol shofar. That's not from Chazal. The Gemara doesn't say any place what the bracha is, and the Rishonim speak about what the bracha is. But in the bracha we do have from Chazal, which is in Musaf, we have a bracha malchuyos, zichronos, and shofaros. So what is the bracha that Chazal made for zichronos? Beruchat Hashem shomea kol teruah samo Yisrael berachamim. That's a fascinating thing. It means that is the one who's listening to the shofar. We're blowing the shofar, and Hashem is the one who's listening. We have to hear it also. Like means if you're talking, you have to hear what you're saying. So you have to hear the shofar also. But I think that it's more pashut the way the bracha says that we're blowing to Hashem, and Hashem is listening to our kol shofar. In a way, I would say that it's like a tza'aka. It's like we're crying out to Hashem. We can't cry loud enough with our mouths, so we cry with the shofar. The shofar is an outcry to Hashem in a way that Hashem is going to react with Omed Mekisei Din Lekisei Rachamim, and it's a pniyah to Hashem. It's a way of turning to Hashem. The shofar is turning to Hashem. I think that's the more pashut pshat in the shofar. It even says someplace. Okay, I don't want to get into details, but it seems like that it's called a pniyah to Hashem. It's an outcry to Hashem. Even the word trua, sometimes you find by Reyosam, Beiriu, sometimes it talks about people saying with their mouth, shouting with their mouth, sometimes it means with the shofar. So it's a way of calling out, and we're calling out to Hashem. Malchuyos, Zichronos, and Shofaros. The Ramchal says that the mitzvah of shofar accomplishes this together with tshuva. So we said that the day of tshuva wouldn't be enough because it's tshuva's rachamim, and the issue of Rosh Hashanah is not tshuva. But the shofar works together with tshuva. He doesn't explain why in the Derech Hashem, but he says that Am Yisrael has to be doing tshuva. If that's going to do is they blow the shofar without a heartfelt tshuva, so then it doesn't have that koach. The koach of the shofar is with the tshuva. So the Mefarshim talk about, at least in his mind, he should be doing tshuva, not to say vidu. If you don't say vidu on Rosh Hashanah, and even those who say Avinu Malkeinu, they don't say Chatanu L'Fanecha, they don't say the first one, not supposed to say vidu on Rosh Hashanah. But there should be a thought of people want to come back to Hashem. That thought is supposed to be. Tshuva, we'll talk about more. Bezras Hashem, if we have a chance next week, we'll be able to talk about it. Next week, what? Next week, if we meet, yes, we should be able to. We have to know how to do tshuva. People are frustrated because they don't think that they're getting any place. So we spoke about a couple of times how a person has to do zehirus the whole year, but the tshuva would be that a person has to. The tshuva he can do on Rosh Hashanah means besides the zehirus he's doing the whole year round, to continue progressing in whatever he decided, but he has to have charota and vidui, which we could do before Rosh Hashanah, or vidui believe, but he's turning to Hashem that he wants to come back, he wants to do everything that he wants to get close to Hashem, and Hashem and the schus of the Malchuyos, Zichronos, and Shofaros, Hashem should inscribe all of us, Am Yisrael as a whole, and each Yachid as a individual, the Tova, the Chaim, all the tefillas that Am Yisrael is davening for, in a big scale and on a personal scale. Everyone should have Shana Tova Matuka, a sweet, good year, and Shnas Gula, the Yeshua, and Hashem's Malchus should be revealed, and all of creation, all of humanity, and one. Amen.
Amen. Rabbi, first of all, can we get a recording of the share sent out?